What would you think if I told you that the Amish are able to cultivate fresh food in an area that is smaller than your living room, and that they do so without the use of electricity, unnecessary equipment, or financial obligations? It sounds ridiculous, doesn't it? On the other hand, it is absolutely true, and you are about to witness the exact manner in which they accomplish this. Hey there, people who dream of having a garden, people who love food, and people who rebel against the grid. Welcome back to Pantry Prepper, where you can find forgotten homestead tactics that will become your secret weapon against growing grocery prices. Today, we are going to reveal how Amish families grow organic vegetables all year round, in just 12 by 20 feet, using simple, genius hacks that will save you money, space, and stress, the article reads. This is something that you are able to accomplish if you have a backyard, a balcony, or even just a windowsill. Please hit that like button, leave a remark if you are prepared to improve your intelligence, and then let's get started. A mini greenhouse secret revealed by the Amish. Please close your eyes for a moment and try to see this. A very little plot of land, roughly equivalent in size to a bedroom of a modest size, possibly 12 feet in width, perhaps 20 feet in length. On the surface, there is nothing remarkable. On the other hand, inside, even though it is the dead of winter, it is bursting with vegetables such as baby carrots, deep green lettuce, fresh parsley, and even tomatoes. The buzzing light is not present either. There are no wires. The thermostats should not beep. Only the warmth of the sun, the greenery, and the peaceful pace of existence. Exactly this is the enchantment of the Amish little greenhouse. It is not possible to construct these modest greenhouses using sophisticated kits. No way. They are constructed by hand by the Amish. They will make use of previously used barnwood, windows that have been rescued, and even clear roofing sheets that they have purchased from a farm auction. All things have a second chance at life. Nothing is frittered away. As for the way that it is organised, here is where the brilliance reveals itself. What is the first rule? Turn your back to the south, at all times. During the day, the greenhouse is able to make the most of every ounce of sunshine that it receives. Sunlight becomes the sole source of heat that they require. Not only does light enter through the front, it heats the soil, it reflects off the rear wall, and it stays there for a longer period of time than you may anticipate. On the northern side, that's the icy side of things. Therefore, what do? They have constructed a wall around it, constructed from solid wood, strong stone, and even straw bales packed tightly in certain cases. Heat is unable to escape via that wall. It is like a blanket that is wrapped around the plants and holds it in place. And when the wind screams outside, what happens? The back wall acts as a shield, preventing it from entering. If you go inside, you will see something that is quite ingenious. Large black barrels that are filled with water are positioned around the walls. One might be under the impression that they are merely for storage, but in reality, they are heat banks. Throughout the day, the water is able to take up the warmth of the sun. This heat slowly makes its way back into the area during the night, when the air temperature drops. There are no cords, there are no switches. It is nothing more than water acting in its natural manner. Now take a look at the soil beds below you. They are not elevated in any way. In fact, they are excavated down in a great number of Amish greenhouses. Exactly, beds that have been sunk, approximately 1 foot or more below the surface of the ground. How come? The reason for this is that the earth remains warmer than the air below the frost line. In spite of the snow that may be outside, the roots are kept warm by this additional depth. In addition to that, the structure shields the plants from the coolness of the wind. To put it another way, it's like a comfortable root-level shelter for spinach and carrots. In addition to this, you will observe that there is no unused space inside. Every inch is important. You'll notice lettuce on one side of the dish. On top of it, herb plants hung up. Hidden in the middle, either beets or onions. Stacking low growers, climbers, and root vegetables in neat rows, they layer their crops to achieve the desired effect. It is similar to a living puzzle in that everything should fit, everything should grow, and nothing should be wasted. Another deft touch is the roof of the building. The majority of the time, they will make use of old storm windows or thick plastic sheeting that is positioned at the ideal angle. The slope makes it possible for snow or rain to slip off, and it also contributes to the sun's ability to directly hit the floor, beds. Additionally, on occasion, they would hang a second layer of transparent plastic so that it seems almost like a curtain just inside the entrance. Because of this additional layer, warm air is trapped, so forming a greenhouse within the greenhouse. You won't hear the whirring of fans or the clicking of heaters going on. The warmth is entirely passive, which means that it occurs spontaneously at the same time. That is the great thing about it. Smart design is what the Amish rely on, not their monthly energy bills. And what about when the temperature during the day becomes unhealthy? It's easy. It is possible to let the heat escape by opening a few of the smaller windows that are located near the roof. Not even thermostats. Vents that are controlled by remote. What you see here is nothing more than a hinge and an arm. And even the door has a role to play. It is common practice for them to put a large quilt or rug inside the house so that the warm air within does not rush out when the wooden door is opened. In spite of the fact that it is simple to lift, this barrier is ideal for maintaining a consistent microclimate. Do you want to know the secret to success? The price of these greenhouses is not in the thousands. Using the resources that they already possess, a great number of Amish families are able to construct them for a cost of a few $100s or less. Outdated windows from a house that was demolished, timber that has been scrapped. There are water barrels. Even the soil itself is returned to its original state, rotated and naturally nourished. The objective is not to make a good impression on the neighbours. Rather, it is to provide food for the family. This is effective. You will be able to feel it if you step inside in January. It is quiet here. It is tranquil. However, it is warm. Although it is not as hot as a contemporary greenhouse that is heated, it is warm enough to keep greens alive. Adequate to maintain the growth of cabbage. Sufficient to make one feel lively even in the middle of winter. Occasionally, if you examine the walls in great detail, you will notice additional insulation, such as straw stuffed between boards or canvas tacked up for the purpose of windproofing. Small modifications are made at the beginning of each season. This is a fresh patch now. There, a more secure closure. There is no end in sight, and that is precisely the point. It progresses over time. This gets better. It is able to. As far as I can tell, there are no electric grow lights buzzing above. There is no backup generator to be heard outdoors. Nature, materials, and a small amount of human knowledge that has been passed down from generation to generation are all needed. The construction of some of these greenhouses dates back decades. They have been renovated, repaired, and replanted on multiple occasions. Seedlings of lettuce, kale, onions, and herbs will be planted here by the Amish at the beginning of spring at this location. They are relocated to the fields as they continue to develop. On the other hand, the greenhouse continues to produce even after the planting season has ended. The harvest of fall crops begins. Oftentimes, spinach is stashed away in obscure corners. Even when November arrives, those very same beds are still alive, thanks to the strong walls, the heat that is held inside, and the ingenious ventilation. In spite of the accumulation of snow on the roof, the interior can still be utilised. At a time when everyone else is eating frozen peas, you should surely be eating fresh, living greens. Mangoes, for example, are not typically available in February. Despite its diminutive size, this construction demonstrates that size is irrelevant. That is what smarts do. Using the appropriate strategies, It demonstrates how you can transform virtually any area, even a small part of your backyard, into a source of food throughout the entire year, using heat to heat, without using heat. Now that we've gotten that out of the way, let's move on to the bit that truly leaves you perplexed. How in the world do the Amish manage to keep their plants warm when the temperature is below freezing? Without a single heater or outlet in the wall, it does not seem feasible, does it? However, here is where the difference lies. They do not rely on machines. Rather, they rely on nature itself. And after you have seen how it operates, you might start to re-evaluate the way you have your backyard set up. To begin, let's take a look at something that appears to be uninteresting but is, in fact, brilliant: the walls. Greenhouses constructed by Amish people typically have sturdy walls made of stone or solid wooden planks on the north side. How come? Due to the fact that this is where the chilly wind comes from. Rather than using flimsy plastic, they utilize solid materials that are able to absorb heat throughout the day and then gently release it at night. This is similar to how a battery works, but bricks are used instead of plastic. It is referred to as thermal mass, and it is a quite potent substance. Now comes the part where things start to go crazy. They heat with compost. That sizzling heap in the corner. Is that right? It is not simply dirt. It is a heater that is built in. The breakdown of organic waste, such as manure, hay, or leftovers from the kitchen, results in the emission of heat. Heat that is palpable and real. Growers who follow the Amish tradition will occasionally stack this compost inside barrels or tuck it along the corners of greenhouses. Even when there is snow on the ground, leafy greens are able to thrive because the air is kept just moist enough by the gentle warmth that is rising. Putting straw bales in layers around the inside perimeter of the structure is a technique that has been handed down from generation to generation. Straw is a natural material that is inexpensive and surprisingly effective at retaining heat. Not only that, but it also serves as a wind protection and insulation. In the event that the night is really chilly, they will even cover plants with quilts or old rugs. This is nothing spectacular. It is just handmade insulation. Finally, what about the light? During the day, the sun is responsible for the majority of the work. By orienting their greenhouses such that they face south, the Amish are able to maximize the amount of sunlight that they receive. Old storm windows or clear corrugated panels are used by some people for the front wall and roof of their homes. By concentrating light directly onto the ground, these panels perform the function of a magnifying glass. But hold on, it is getting smarter. It is common practice to add a second inner layer, which functions similarly to a greenhouse that is contained within another greenhouse, rather than simply having one layer of plastic or glass. Imagine putting on a sweater underneath your jacket. That's how it works. A layer of warm air is trapped between the walls, which helps to maintain temperatures more consistently throughout the night. In some cases, clear shower curtains are even used as inner flaps because they are inexpensive, flexible, and surprisingly versatile. Interested in geeking out even further? A discussion on sunken beds is in order. In some Amish households, the planting beds are dug to a depth that is lower than the ground surface. How come? The reason for this is that during the winter months, the Earth's surface remains warmer than the air above it. The depth of these earth-berm greenhouses can reach up to 3 to 4 feet. A more steady temperature is achieved by increasing the depth of the bed. A chilly wind does not blow. The warmth is retained. It's easy. In some instances, they construct a modest wood stove that is located outside of the greenhouse. Rather from directly heating it, it is used to warm up water barrels. After that, these barrels are transformed into miniature space heaters by being moved into the greenhouse setting. The water maintains its temperature for a considerable amount of time, gradually releasing heat into the surrounding air. There are no fans and no wiring, simply making intelligent use of the materials. In addition to that, you will notice something quite ingenious: pebbles or barrels of a dark colour inside. Why is it so dark? This is due to the fact that darker hues hold more heat from the sun. Up the course of the day, these are like sponges that take up the sunlight. They radiate warmth back into the space in a gradual manner during the night. Although it is a quiet and passive system, it is effective. In addition, here is a fact that the majority of people fail to notice. Amish greenhouses are often smaller than ours. Having less air implies having less area to heat. When compared to a wide-open hoop house, a greenhouse measuring 12 by 20 feet can have the same effect as a sauna. When there is less room, there is more efficiency. That was done on purpose. They do not pursue gizmos of a fancy nature. They have a sharp mind. They employ materials that are able to retain heat, breathe, and do not require replacement on an annual basis. They construct it once, and it is permanent. And if we are being completely honest, when you are able to cultivate lettuce in February without the need of power, certainly something is working. But here's the greatest part. You can easily replicate the majority of these hacks at a little cost. What about old barrels? Or very close to becoming free, composting? You are succeeding already. What about storm windows? Take them from a yard that sells salvage. And what about quilts? Simply go through your grandmother's closet. It does not have a gleaming control panel. There are no timers. There is no humming of grow lights throughout the night. Simply the sun, the soil, and your sweat, along with a few ingenious strategies that have endured the test of time. And the fact of the matter is that even in the coldest locations, the Amish are achieving something that many people believe to be virtually impossible. Simply because they are aware of something that the majority of us tend to overlook. Heat is not only about machines, it is also about design. When you design with nature in mind, the warmth penetrates the interior of the building. Having said that, let us now go to the next ingenious secret that the Amish have in their expanding playbook. Without the use of modern fertilizers, soil magic. Let's talk about the dirt, not rumors, but the genuine stuff. There is because, according to the Amish, there is where the magic begins. Rather than purchasing a plastic container of fertilizer from the shop, they do not do so. No way. They construct their own, and it turns out to be very effective. Where do we begin? Eggshells are. It is time to quit doing that if you have ever boiled eggs and then thrown the water down the drain. Each and every drop of that water, which is rich in calcium, is preserved by the Amish. It is then poured around tomato plants after it has been cooled down, facilitates their growth, and prevents the decay of the blossoms. Oh, and the eggshells that have been crushed. In addition, they are buried alive in the ground. The calcium supplement, it is a pest repellent. It is free. Amish gardens are another place where you might obtain wood ash. Only a few scattered here and there, not much at all. Pure and simple, it comes from the wood stoves that they have, rich in potassium content, an excellent choice for root vegetables such as carrots and beets. Simply put, don't pile it up in heaps. A little bit can go a very long way. Ever heard of a tea made from manure? Well, not the sort that you drink, of course. By combining aged cow or horse manure with water, the Amish let the mixture to sit for a while before using it to water their garden. You can smell it. It has a brown colour. As well as being loaded with nutrients, it's a treat for their plants. You will never again have the same perspective on the garbage from barns. The use of fish parts is yet another method that they swear by. It is true that fish leftovers from the kitchen are not thrown away in the garbage. In close proximity to the base of corn or squash, they are buried. Traditional in nature. It smells bad. Not at all artificial, as if you were administering a multivitamin to the earth. Clover and alfalfa are examples of cover crops that are planted in the spring. Looks aren't the only reason for these. They maintain the vitality of the soil. Worms are provided with food by their roots, which break up hard soils. Moreover, when it is time to plant, They simply till it into the ground. Instant fertilizer that is green. Let's not overlook the bucket that's in the kitchen. One can be found in every Amish kitchen. Coffee grounds, vegetable peels, onion skins, and even banana peels were found inside the container. The compost gold is found in these wastes. There will be no plastic bags. There is no trash can. It's nothing more than a bucket that feeds the ground rather than the landfill. The composting process is not hurried. Using a shovel, it is stacked in the appropriate manner and time is allowed to pass. There are no shortcuts. There are no chemicals. Simply said, solid, honest rot. When the texture is crumbly, black and smells earthy, it is ready to be served. This is what people understand to be black gold. There are even some families who go even further. The dung from rabbits is used. How come rabbits? Mainly due to the fact that their droppings do not require previous aging. You are able to use it in its fresh state. Not only is it easy on the soil, but it is also loaded with nitrogen. The power is contained in tiny pellets. Moreover, let me to explain the concept of companion planting. There is never a single crop that the Amish plant in a row. They mix things up. On the same plant as basil are tomatoes, when corn is next to beans. Marigolds buried away in every detail. Those blooms chase away mosquitoes and attract bees. Additionally, they have a lovely appearance. There is life in their soil. All of the worms, bugs, and fungi are cooperating with one another. There is no use of sprays to eradicate it. They give it food. Pay attention to it. Let it take a breath. In all honesty, that is the key to success. The soil that the Amish use in their gardens is more than simply dirt. It is a living, breathing partner. As they give to it, it gives back to them in like measure. Code of conduct for companion planting. Okay, now let's talk about where the actual magic happens in terms of growing food. Specifically, how the Amish manage to cram so much food into such small places. It's not simply about intelligent planting. Companion planting is what it is. In the same way as matching up garden best mates. Planting things in boring straight rows is not something that the Amish practice. They confuse the situation, along with shorter plants, taller ones, crops that are shaded and enjoy the light. Working together as a team is essential in the soil. One of their most preferred combinations? There are 3 sisters. Squash, corn, and beans are the ingredients. Corn stands tall and has the appearance of a pole. The corn is climbed by the beans. When squash is allowed to grow below, it spreads out and covers the ground, like a natural blanket that blocks weeds. Only 3 plants. A single gap. Everyone comes out on top. The placement of basil right next to tomatoes is yet another method that they exploit. There's more to it than just food. Basil inhibits the growth of insects. And if you can believe it, tomatoes grow better when basil is present in the environment. You can think of it as having a garden bodyguard and a chef all in one. Additionally, marigolds can be found in every corner. Aside from the fact that they are attractive, pests are frightened away by these brilliant blossoms, particularly those that consume roots. Therefore, Amish gardeners often plant them in the spaces between carrots, close to cabbage, or along the perimeters of their raised beds. No need to use insecticide. Do you have some cucumbers? Within close proximity, the Amish enjoy planting dill and nasturtiums. Dill is responsible for attracting the beneficial insects. The nasturtiums divert the attention of the undesirables. Both the cucumbers' health and their production continue unabated. Here's something else that's really cool. They never let the dirt remain unused. Following the completion of one crop, another one is planted. A term for this practice is succession planting. Lettuce is removed and beans are returned. The beans are finished and garlic is brought in for the fall. All year long, every square foot is useful. They are also concerned with the root depth. Carrots are a very deep vegetable. There is no depth to lettuce. Quickly growing are radishes. Potatoes require more time. Everything is timed similarly to a slow dance. In spite of the fact that nothing else is crowded out, they continue to grow shoulder to shoulder. Even carrots and onions are considered to be good friends in Amish gardens. The carrot fly is taken aback by onions. Not a problem for carrots. It is preferable for them to grow together than apart. What a genuine friendship in the garden. Also, the soil continues to be healthier. When crops are mixed together, there are fewer diseases and pests. The bugs are completely out of their minds. Next thing you know, it's squash. Beans are in the following row, helps to keep them guessing. During each season, they also switch the locations of the plants. The spread of infections is prevented as a result. What about the tomato bed from the previous year? Spinach is the winner this year. Maintains the soil's equilibrium and contentment. It is not possible to find any plastic markers or sophisticated garden apps in this area. Simply a matter of expertise. Grandma's gift to her grandchild after she passed away. By walking the rows and feeling the earth, they are able to determine exactly what should be planted where. The goal is not to plant more, but rather to plant in a more strategic manner, allowing nature to assist when plants are allowed to assist one another. This is the reason why a little Amish garden can provide food for an entire family. No refrigerator required for cold storage. Without a single plug, the Amish were able to keep food fresh throughout the whole year, long before refrigerators became a common fixture in every kitchen. And they continue to do so. When you go behind the walls of many Amish homes, you will see something that appears to be a little wooden shed or a deep room lined with stone that is buried beneath the ground. The root cellar is located there. During the summer, it is chilly, while during the winter, it is slightly above freezing, ideal for preserving potatoes, carrots, beets, and even apples, among other vegetables. There are no fans. There are no cords. The constant temperature of the planet is all that is meant. In other cases, root cellars are constructed at a depth of 6 or 8 feet downward. There are either stone or brick walls. Hardwood is used for the shelves. A high level of humidity is maintained, which prevents food from drying out. It smells like new onions and earth that has been dampened. It is chilly, calm, and peaceful. The duration of everything is increased. Some households continue to cut and haul ice chunks during the winter months, the larger ones, which originate from frozen ponds. In order to halt the melting process, they stack them within insulated ice houses that are stuffed with sawdust. If you can believe it, that ice can last until the month of July. People who follow the Amish custom of placing milk, butter, and even fresh meat in boxes on top of others. This is the freezer of nature. In addition to this, they make use of spring homes, which are constructed over cool flowing water. Due to the presence of the stream, the interior remains cool throughout the entire year. When you put a jar of cream or a crock of cheese inside, it preserves its temperature just like a shelf in the refrigerator. There are no buttons, simply water that is moving and clever design. Can you store food in root cellars that won't go bad? At this point, canning becomes an option. The shelves of Amish pantries are loaded with glass jars containing a variety of foods, including pickled beets, sauerkraut, peaches, green beans, and applesauce. Every single one was hand-sealed, warmed by use of wood stoves, written with a pencil label. In addition, fermented foods play a significant role. Cabbage is fermented into sauerkraut. Garlic pickles are made from cucumbers, which are crisp. It is possible to preserve even fruits like pears by using sugar syrup. Nobody throws away anything. They will find a method to store it if it continues to increase. There are some households that dry their food using traditional methods. There are apple rings strung on string. The herbs were hung from the rafters. Out in the sun, beans were put out. It is then stored for the winter months in jars or bags made of cloth. No ziplocs made of plastic. There is no frostbite. You only need time, heat, and air. And what about the meat? They inhale the gas. It takes days for hams to hang in smokehouses. Over and over again, salt is massaged into the skin. It removes moisture and prevents bacteria from entering the body. When the meat is stored in a cool location or packed in crocks with fat, it can be preserved for several months, and even for a year in some cases. Everything that is stored in Amish households is not considered to be perishable. The only thing that matters is how and where it is kept. These methods are somewhat outdated. On the other hand, they continue to be more effective than current procedures. Why it is used so frequently? The tools themselves are not the key to unlocking the true potential of these Amish growing innovations. It is a matter of mentality. The process is neither hurried or rushed by Amish households. They do not follow the most recent fashion trends. They pay attention to the changing of the seasons, examine the land, and get knowledge from years of peaceful practice. It's not about having control, rather, it's about working together with nature. They design everything with a specific goal in mind. The sun's rays deliver not just light, but also heat, energy, and life. Rather than being thrown away, water is conserved, redirected, and reused. The space is not just occupied, rather, it is layered, planned, and valued. Each and every one of the systems that they employ is passive, unchanging, and self-sustaining. After it has been set up, it requires very little effort to operate. There are no wires, screens, or sensors that make a beeping sound. Simply strategic location, effective routines, and materials that are long-lasting. It is effective due to the fact that it is straightforward. However, you should not be lazy. There is a need for effort, but it is not exhaustion. They do not engage in conflict with nature, but rather embrace it. They pay attention to it, and maybe, most crucially, they do it for the sake of using the long game. It is not possible to harvest quickly with these simple tricks. They are discrete tactics that have been handed down from mother to daughter and father to son. There are no manuals, there is no YouTube. Memory, muscle, and tradition are the only assets. Which is why it is effective, is because they have faith in the procedure. They have never stopped believing in what the earth is capable of accomplishing, provided that they have a lot of patience and a little bit of assistance. So, what are your thoughts on this matter? Would it be possible for you to cultivate your own food like the Amish do, without the use of power, chemicals, or stress? In the event that the advice provided today has even somewhat influenced you, please click the like button to let me know that you appreciate this kind of traditional knowledge. Please share your thoughts on the best off-grid gardening concept in the comments section below. Would you be willing to put one of these brilliant Amish tactics to the test in your own backyard? And if you are interested in learning real-life homestead hacks, spending less money, and being more intelligent, then you should subscribe to this channel and click the bell button so that you don't miss the next one. In the Amish way of life, traditional practices give rise to fresh optimism. Have a good time in the following video.